Buongiorno tutti. Hello everyone. Good morning. As you can't fail to have noticed, we brought it forward half an hour so that you can, if you want to get away for, I believe there's some winter sports going on, but there's one particular event I think people want to see. We will today be talking about sport and sport innovation. As ever, any other questions also welcome. You can ask whatever you want to, as ever, but we'll start with that. Just to give you a quick update of things that are going on. So there are 9 sports disciplines going on today, 8 medals. I'm told the weather in Cortina is glorious, so that's good. A couple of quick broadcasting digital figures. So the opening ceremony on RAI attracted one of the largest audiences on Italian television in recent years, an average of 9.27 million viewers. And just to give you, from our side digitally, Olympic social media handles 5.3 billion engagements, which is quite something. That's engagements as well. So without further ado, let me introduce the podium to you. Pierre Duchey, IOC Sports Director. Pierre, thank you for coming. And Anna Riccardi, Milano-Cortina 2026 Sports Director. And of course, my partner in crime, Luca, Casassa. I've been told to tell you at the beginning of the press conference that there is translation, so you're all ready for it with your translating machines, and we're not all scrabbling, me too, when it comes to it. 8 languages available, so it should cover, I think, most people. And we will also hopefully have some questions remotely if there are any. So let's get on. Let's start with quick little presentation on innovations in the sports program first from Pierre. Pierre.
Yes. I actually need to push. Yeah. See. Too much innovation already. Good morning, everybody. I love that we have rescheduled this press conference to make sure you can enjoy sport, because this is very much what our focus should be. So when it comes to the sport program, I think you could all see yesterday that we already had a fantastic day of sport out there. Of course, the men's downhill and the images coming up in Bormio, but the performance of the Italian team already with that first temporary ice providing a perfect stage for that gold medal and an Olympic record. I'm sure Anna will talk about that. We also saw some fantastic hockey women's game, as we have today also the NHL arriving in town, landing as we speak. So the preparations are getting to their maximum. But yeah, the games on the women's side were really impressive yesterday. And in general, if we talk about women and innovation in the program, you can see on the slide behind me that there has been a lot of progress in that direction. We are now at 47% quota of athletes for female in the program. We have pushed that around 3% from the last edition. We have 4 new women's events in this program, which is important. And across most of the sport, you can see a better balancing between men and women. As you know, it's a big objective for the IOC to try and achieve parity, as we demonstrated in Paris. So we continue to work in the lead up to 2030 to understand how we can further improve that balance. Innovation is also going through the program, of course, a new event. You can see on this slide that we've added for these games 8 new events: skeleton mixed team, luge women double, men and women dual moguls, the women's large eel event, and ultimately the ski mountaineering 3 events, men and women sprint, and then the team relay. Those are all new events for this edition of the Games that we highly recommend you look for, because we believe they can massively contribute to the Olympic product overall. Ski mountaineering, new sport. It's the first new sport we add to the program in 25 years, so something extremely exciting for everyone. A very strong sport in this country, a very strong sport in this part of the world, but also a very quickly developing sport across the world. So we're very excited to be able to see it live in Bormio following the alpine skiing competitions, also a sport that fits perfectly into the overall program. In terms of innovation, I know you will have a session with Yanis that will take you through all of the improvements and new setup from OBS, but just to refer to some of the images that some of you would have seen yesterday, some of the drone shots from luge, from alpine skiing, or from slopestyle. I mean, I don't know if you feel the same, but looking at the screen in the downhill, I almost feel motion sickness. That's how much we are able to project ourselves thanks to this new way of broadcasting the sports into the action. So fantastic for us. And yeah, I don't want to be too long, just as I mentioned, to also mention after 12 years, the return of the NHL players is a big step. We always ambition at the Olympic Games to have best on best competitions, and this is what we're going to get here. The athletes are extremely excited, so are we, so we look forward to that first game as well. Now, without further ado, Anna, I'll turn over to you to talk a little bit about the details of the competition and the setup here.
Grazie Pier. Sono molto orgogliosa di essere oggi qui con voi per parlarvi dello sport e dello sport ai nostri giochi olimpici. La più grande innovazione, credo, è stata il nostro progetto in generale, perché è la prima volta che abbiamo messo tutta l'enfasi e il possibile focus nell'avere gli atleti al centro del sistema e offrire loro i giochi nei luoghi che conoscono profondamente gli sport invernali. Questa è stata l'origine del nostro progetto, un'origine molto semplice ma molto vincente. Come ben sapete, questo significa una difficoltà organizzativa enorme, perché gli giochi si svolgono su 22 km quadrati, coinvolgono 2 regioni, 2 province autonome, 2 città, ma la complessità organizzativa è stata nulla in confronto ad offrire un'opportunità incredibile agli atleti di vivere i Giochi Olimpici nei luoghi più iconici che l'Italia poteva offrire dal punto di vista dell'organizzazione e della specializzazione nello sport. Quindi siamo partiti da ciò che già esisteva, non abbiamo portato i giochi in montagna, sono state le montagne a portare la loro esperienza ai giochi. Ci siamo focalizzati fortissimamente nel lavorare insieme alla expertise locale che potevamo sfruttare, e così facendo abbiamo sposato in pieno l'approccio di Agenda 2020 e 2020+5 del CIO, utilizzando più o meno l'85% di venue già esistente e rendendole quanto più possibile sostenibili, ma anche modernizzandole in funzione dei giochi per renderle capaci di ospitare un evento di questa portata. Uno degli esempi è sicuramente Anterselva. Anterselva è una delle eccellenze del biathlon, hanno organizzato campionati del mondo, tantissime coppe del mondo, ogni anno ospitano 20-30.000 persone, quindi portare il biathlon lì è stata una scelta vincente per gli atleti che conoscono questa venue e se ne fidano al 100%. Certo, avete visto tutti ieri la bellezza di Bormio, ci sono state immagini in televisione che ci hanno fatto vedere lo spettacolo di quella che è l'esempio della modernizzazione che abbiamo potuto fare grazie ai Giochi Olimpici, rendendo il percorso di Bormio molto più spettacolare e avendo Franzoni che in zona mista all'arrivo già declamava la bellezza della pista e la bellezza del percorso e di tutta la finish area. Ugualmente siamo andati per Milano nel ghiaccio. È stato tutto fatto, la maggior parte di quello che sono gli ice rinks di Milano sono strutture temporanee, e lì abbiamo avuto la meraviglia di iniziare col botto ieri con i 3.000 metri e un record olimpico, a dimostrazione che le innovazioni e lo sviluppo permettono anche un concept diverso dei Giochi Olimpici e permettono di portare gli sport del ghiaccio veramente nella città, mantenendo un concetto di sostenibilità e di legacy molto importante. Mi vorrei un attimo adesso soffermare su quella che è la in-venue presentation. Anche lì il nostro approccio è stato sempre centrato sull'atleta, infatti nulla all'interno delle venue deve distrarre dallo sport stesso e quindi ci siamo focalizzati sulla performance per integrare la sport presentation a quello che è la vita dell'atleta quando arriva in venue, dare loro flussi chiari e prevedibili verso le sedi di gara, lavorare in tempi affidabili, avere spazi di warm-up e call room e mix zone privilegiati che abbiamo costruito insieme alle federazioni internazionali e soprattutto gestire attentamente suono, luci e annunci per non interferire nella concentrazione nella routine pre-gara degli atleti. Per gli spettatori invece abbiamo fatto tutto quello che è possibile per integrare tutto quello che è speaker, grafiche, maxi schermi, tecnologie di proiezione e poi abbiamo lavorato molto con la televisione per poter avere un fan engagement che consistisse un'integrazione per quella che è l'esperienza in venue e quella che è l'esperienza dei telespettatori. Il nostro obiettivo è sempre stato che ogni venue fosse diversa, ma riflettesse il proprio sport e il territorio che le ospita, restando sempre riconoscibile e coerente e soprattutto centrata sull'atleta e sulla competizione. Questo è stato il leitmotiv che ha guidato sport nell'organizzare i Giochi Olimpici di Milano-Cortina e per fare questo abbiamo ascoltato gli atleti e le federazioni internazionali e sono molto grata sia alla Commissione Atleti di Milano-Cortina che alle federazioni internazionali con cui abbiamo lavorato mano nella mano per la costruzione delle venue, per validare tutti i layout di gare e di servizi, per definire gli standard tecnici e operativi per lo svolgimento delle competizioni. La Commissione Atleta poi è stata fondamentale nell'approccio dell'esperienza dell'atleta ai giochi e per trasformare quello che era il nostro progetto nella realtà dell'esperienza che gli atleti vivono in questi giorni a Milano e in tutte le sedi di gara di Milano-Cortina 2026, sia dal punto di vista della performance sportiva ma anche di quelli che sono i servizi e i giochi. Infatti per noi ogni decisione operativa doveva partire dall'impatto che aveva sull'atleta e per fare questo il principio guida è che se una cosa non funziona per gli atleti non funziona per i giochi. Infine vorrei dire due parole su quella che è la complessità operativa dei giochi diffusi e sulla sua organizzazione. La funzione sport è una delle più grandi in termini di persone coinvolte, soprattutto durante il periodo dei giochi. Ogni giorno nelle venue, fra tutte le venue, saranno operative circa 5.000 persone che sono composte da professionisti della funzione dello sport, ufficiali tecnici specializzati, team dedicati alla sicurezza sportiva e all'integrità dell'atleta e un numero elevato di volontari. I volontari sono essenziali. Senza i volontari non avremmo potuto sopportare al meglio le competizioni e garantire quella infrastruttura umana che rende possibile i giochi. E in definitiva tutto questo aveva un unico obiettivo chiaro: creare le migliori condizioni possibili affinché gli atleti possano esprimersi, competere e fare la storia. Quindi, in conclusione, Milano-Cortina significa grande sport, grandi luoghi, atleti al centro di ogni decisione.
Thank you very, very much, Anna. Okay, so you have a brace of sports directors here, so if you would like to ask them questions, now is your big opportunity. Obviously, we will take other questions too, but let's start with Reuters from Carlos Roman. Yeah, come down.
Yes, thank you very much. Carlos Gromer from Reuters. Pierre, you talked about the importance of having the best of the best in every Olympic Games. We see the NHL back here this time. What are you doing to ensure continuity with the presence of NHL players, given that it is so important for the ice hockey tournament of the Olympics? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. What we are doing, I think, is building a relationship with the International Federation, of course, and the NHL and the NHLPA that exemplifies all the benefits, and I think they are very visible when it comes to the players. I mean, they obviously have been outspoken in wanting to participate, but we believe that in addition to having the best players here, allowing them to be on the biggest stage, we can also generate more benefits to our respective organizations by working together. As you know, the agreement that we have signed for 2026 also already talks about 2030, so we really want to make this a relationship that spans over a longer period of time, because we feel that is the right thing to do that we, collaborate together to ensure the best athletes of the world are not deprived of a chance to be at every edition of the Games moving forward.
French colleague there.
Merci Marc. Bonjour, Bruno Fraioli de sportbusiness.club. Je vais poser ma question en français. J'ai vu l'arrivée de quelques épreuves mixtes. J'ai l'impression qu'il n'y en a pas beaucoup dans les sports d'hiver, en tous les cas moins, où c'est peut-être plus difficile pour les disciplines d'hiver que les disciplines d'été. Et c'est quelque chose que le CIO pousse, les épreuves mixtes.
Je pense que le principal, c'est que l'épreuve, qu'elle soit mixte ou pas, elle fasse du sens. Donc il faut qu'elle existe dans le programme de la fédération, que ce soit quelque chose que les athlètes reconnaissent comme étant une épreuve qui peut amener de la valeur ajoutée. Je crois qu'on a dans ces jeux le skeleton en mixed event, on a aussi ajouté une épreuve mixte en relais en ski mountaineering. Donc évidemment, il y a moins d'épreuves en hiver qu'en été, donc le nombre d'ajouts va être moins important. Mais les épreuves mixtes existent toujours. Mais je pense qu'au travers du programme, on essaie toujours de comprendre quelles sont les épreuves qui font sens. Forcément, mixte, c'est un format très intéressant, mais il faut que ce soit un format qui soit utilisé par la fédération, qu'il y ait des compétitions qui soient reconnues comme étant, on va dire, valorisées par les athlètes en dehors des Jeux Olympiques aussi.
Okay, let's take New York Times at the back and then we'll go to Rachel.
Terry Pange from the New York Times. Morning, Mark. In terms of the broadcast scenario for the Olympics, with technology, everything has changed quite a lot, with a lot of influencers around in the world. These athletes are as well. So the IOC has obviously been very protective over its rights, and rightly so, because it funds the games. In terms of more outlets, there are these influencers. Some of them are sports federations themselves or the presidents of these. Have you given them permission to sort of film and broadcast these now? Has there been a change in terms of who can put video out at the Olympics? Because we're seeing sports and federations and federation chiefs putting on their own personal Instagram accounts or TikTok, for example. Is that a change? Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to answer that one briefly because I don't have the full details. But I'm looking at my colleagues. We have a small group of influencers that are here that we're cooperating with to try and spread the Olympic message. So yeah, as you said, the whole digital landscape is changing. Broadcast landscape is changing. We need to protect the rights of our media rights holders, but we also understand and working, by the way, with those media rights holders, with influencers who can also use some of that footage. And by the way, obviously athletes also have a limited carve-out as well about what they can. No, not at the moment. But I think rather than misspeaking, I can get you the full rules. But we are loosening it in terms of those influences. I don't know how many there are off the top of my head. I think it's about 2 or 3 dozen, but a little bit more than that. And the athletes have also been given more rights because they wanted to be able to obviously have access to their own events and so on. Yeah, but I can get you more detail if you need it. Rachel?
Thanks, Mark. Hello, everybody. I will ask my question in French, if you don't mind. I've got two. La première, c'est sur le combiné nordique pour Pierre. Est-ce que le combiné nordique joue, je ne veux pas dire sa survie, mais sa prolongation au jeu sur le fait qu'il intègre les femmes? Et une question pour le comité d'organisation et aussi pour le CIO. Est-ce que vous pouvez réagir à toutes les manifestations qui ne semblent pas s'arrêter contre les Jeux, aussi bien à Milan que dans d'autres villes du nord de l'Italie? Merci beaucoup. Merci.
I'll respond in English, so it might be easier. So yes, as we've already communicated, we are looking very extensively into Nordic Combined. we understand the challenges that the current situation is creating for the athletes, and our commitment has been to entirely review the situation for both men and women after these games. It's something we communicated in our executive board in September in Milano, where we will use the data coming from these games to try and really understand what is the level of popularity, what is the level of universality of the sport, both on men and women, to make sure that we can then have all necessary information in hand to look into the sport and make a decision for 2030.
Luca, if you want to answer about protests.
Intanto buongiorno a tutti, vi do il benvenuto da parte dell'area comunicazione del comitato organizzatore. Mi sembrava doveroso e utile salutarvi. Per quanto riguarda le proteste a cui hai fatto riferimento, noi riteniamo che esattamente come i valori del CIO lo sport sia un ambito anche di dialogo, di confronto. Il tutto però deve sempre comunque avvenire all'interno di un perimetro di rispetto, di confronto positivo. Tutto ciò che eccede questo periodo e finisce nella violenza o in manifestazioni che non rientrano nel comune dialogo non appartengono a questo mondo. Un ringraziamento va alle forze dell'ordine con cui c'è un dialogo continuo e perenne e a cui fa capo ovviamente la gestione di tutto il comparto di sicurezza.
Yeah, and I don't have anything to add. I think we join ourselves with that comment too. Yeah, down here. Yeah.
Takafumi Yoshida from Japanese News Agency Kyodo News. I have a question to Pierre about gender equality. Do you expect 2030 French Alps will be the first Winter Olympic edition will be with full, totally gender parity? How do you?
Thank you for the question. What we expect is to continue to work in that direction. As you understand, the quota of athletes in the context of the Games is a delicate matter. So if you have to better balance men and women, you also need to find the way to allow the decisions to be fair. So we are working already to try and understand the path that could exist to 50-50. But we are doing that very carefully in collaboration with the international federations to make sure that it's not just something we do artificially. We want to make sure it's a meaningful evolution of the program so that we can definitely aim at that 50-50. But we're working now with the international federation and the organizing committee of 2030 to be ready when comes the time in June.
Okay, let's go over here. Yeah, let's have our FRZ and then we'll gentleman there. Yeah.
Christoph Becker, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. I've got two questions with regard to the participation of Israeli athletes. One is a more general one, referring back to the opening ceremony. Were there any particular security measures in place as to, let's say, catch some form of protest from spectators with, I don't know, banners or something at the gates of the stadium? So was there any particular security for this? And then secondly, I just heard that there was a theft in the lodgings of Israeli bobsledder AJ Edelman. Do you have any information on that? A, where does he stay in Cortina? Does he stay in the Olympic Village there, or does he stay somewhere else? And B, are there any details known yet if this was let's say petty crime, or if there is anything more to it? Thanks.
So on your more general question, I mean, obviously our job is to create an atmosphere of celebration where people feel safe. That's not our job, actually. That feeling safe is the job of the authorities. I won't comment, and you wouldn't expect me to comment on security issues. But obviously, we hope that opening ceremony can be presented in the way that people can enjoy it and celebrate it. And the athletes are here obviously to compete, and they need our support. On the more general issue, I understand, but I'll just pass to Luca, I think, but I understand that this was in a pre-games lodging, and therefore was not within our zone. But obviously, the most important thing is to say that we send our kind of support to them. We understand these terrible things do happen, and we will do all we can. If they need any help, we'll obviously do that. But Luca, I don't know if you have any more details on that one.
Sì, nulla da aggiungere rispetto a quello che ha detto Mark. È un fatto, da quello che ci risulta, accaduto prima dei giochi, quindi non di nostra competenza.
Yes, gentleman here. Yeah, and then we'll go to Graham, and I think we've got a question online.
Good morning. I'm Oscar Garcia with The Athletic. There were a couple political displays at the figure skating venue last night. 2 American fans, one held up a banner that said, "We apologize to the world for our bad behavior. We will fix ourselves." And there was another woman with a Trump display on a belt on her back. Are those kinds of displays allowed, and how are you approaching these kinds of displays generally during these games?
I mean, the technical answer is obviously there are terms and conditions on the tickets. We want people, it's a similar answer in one respect to the Israeli question. We want people to enjoy their spectator experience free from any other issues. It's a sporting event, and we want people to enjoy that. And what I would say is that minor infringements, if that's what they are dealt with in venue, as is seen fit, as is necessary.
So it's up to the venues?
It will be dealt with. If it's a minor infringement like that, it will be dealt with in the venue if it needs to be. Yeah. But thank you for raising all these infringements.
But are they infringements? I just want to be clear.
I don't know about the specific one. I mean, but if there's an issue, it would be dealt with. And clearly, if they dealt with it, if it was an issue, they dealt with it. If it wasn't dealt with, it wasn't an issue. I don't think there was any, apart from you, I don't think that there was any complaints about it. But I will look into it for you if you want. It was someone with a slogan on their bottom or something, I think it was. Yeah, and a poster, but we'll look into it. But as I say, minor infringements are dealt with in the venue themselves. Yes, Wakako.
Thank you. Wakako Yuki from Yomiuri Shimbun. 2 questions to Pierre. First one is actually follow-up to Rachel's Nordic Combined. And what is the major obstacle for a women's event not it being introduced? And how during this Olympic Games, how would you like to observe, what sort of criteria are you focusing on to watch for the decision of the future of this event or discipline? Also, regarding the general, actually, sports operation, of course, first couple of days, usually you would find something and try to make adjustment. And this is not strictly under your control, but we hear, for instance, transportation delays. Initially, there were minor blackout occurring. What are the things that you try to make changes, and these are not happening again? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. When it comes to Nordic Combined, I think we look at it in a way that these games will provide us a lot of information. When we assess a sport, not necessarily Nordic Combined, any sport, what do we look for? We look for universality. We look for spread of excellence at the top. We look for, is this sport being watched in the games, outside the games? There's a lot of elements that are being used, which, again, are not specific to Nordic Combined. We apply the exact same criteria to all sports. It just turns out that this particular discipline has had challenges in the past. I think it's been communicated, both on the men and the women's side. So we just want to make sure that we take a very good look in details as how much the sport has moved forward since we made the decision for 2026. When we decided on the women for 2026, as you know, in 21, there had only been one world championship with a lower number of athletes. Now the sport has evolved further, so we want to make sure we take all the criteria I just mentioned and inform those that have to make the decision. For the second part of the question, I'll just mention, and I'll turn over to Anna, that in the context of the games, what we always want to do is make sure we learn from the issues we have, so that we don't have any issues happening twice. But I'm sure she can explain more about the work and the situations you mentioned.
Grazie Pierre. In effetti è proprio così. I primi problemi che abbiamo avuto, soprattutto sui trasporti, sono stati una questione di rodaggio di tutta quella che è la macchina complessa dell'organizzazione dello sport e dei giochi diffusi. E di conseguenza abbiamo avuto qualche inconveniente che si è riflesso soprattutto in qualche venue di montagna e su Milano. Ora il sistema è andato a sistema, perdonate il gioco di parole, e pensiamo di non aver più, speriamo e auspichiamo di non avere più problemi di questo genere. Per quanto riguarda il blackout, siamo andati subito al riparo per quello che è possibili situazioni difficili con l'energia e siamo andati a un resetting venue per venue di quella che è la situazione energetica per evitare che quello che è successo nella prima gara di curling a Cortina si possa ripresentare in altre gare e stiamo continuando a monitorare e a procedere con la revisione di tutto il comparto nelle notti prima delle competizioni.
Okay, we have a question from the mountains online.
Thanks. Yeah, this is from Sarah Levitt at Canadian Broadcasting Services, and she wants a general overview of the technology and then more specifically on the drones and the ones that are filming the athletes in the first person. On the one hand, she asks, they create beautiful panoramic views, and yet some of the athletes have also complained about noise issues. So what's your response to that point as well?
Yeah, I'm sure Anna will add, but I think we look at this as an evolution of the sport. I think the expectation of anyone today is to have this kind of experience when you consume a sporting event, even more so the Olympic Games, because as I mentioned at the start, we always strive to offer the best viewing experience, whether you're in the stadium or outside. So this is the expectation today. We believe, in collaboration with the International Federation, that the drone do not impact significantly the experience of the athletes. We've looked into it to make sure that it doesn't. Maybe some people are more sensitive than others, obviously, but we're trying to make sure that the way we improve the broadcast of the games is certainly not an obstacle to the performance of the athletes, but that's an ongoing conversation every time with the athletes community, with the International Federation. But Anna, maybe you want to add something?
Ma no, Pier, penso che tu abbia detto tutto. Sicuramente abbiamo testato i droni prima dell'utilizzo in tutte le occasioni che abbiamo avuto, nelle diverse test event che abbiamo fatto, e abbiamo valutato, anche sentendo appunto la comunità degli atleti, che l'impatto non fosse sulla loro performance e non desse fastidio in alcun modo a quello che avvengono. Poi, come dice giustamente Pier, le situazioni sono differenti da atleta a atleta e anche dalla sensibilità di affrontare la gara olimpica con una novità, ma al momento non abbiamo avuto nessuna lamentela che ci possa far considerare il non utilizzo dei droni per le riprese.
Thanks, Anna. And I should say Yannis, our head of OBS director, will be here to talk about all of those things, new technologies and so on that we're using in innovations. I'm not sure which day, but we will let you know. Okay, let's go to Graham from AP.
Thank you very much, Mark. Just picking up on the protests. On the day of the vote 7 years ago, one of the main reasons given by the IOC for why Milan won over Stockholm was that public support was better, that people didn't want it enough in Sweden, and in Milan they did. And so obviously the optics of protests and tear gassing on the first Saturdays, not ideal. Has that surprised you to see these protests? Do you think it's a sign of some kind of deeper discontent, or just a regular feature of the games and something that's just going to happen on Saturdays this month?
I'm not an expert on the Italian political scene, so I won't attempt to give you an answer to that. I mean, I think from our point of view, peaceful protest is entirely legitimate in many countries of the world. And we draw a line, as we said earlier on, at violence. Well, that has no place at the Olympic Games. But I think it's very much something that's apart from I honestly don't know how many protesters there were and so on, but I think we just need to get on with the Games, which will, spread a strong message of unity and peace to the world, which I think is very important at this moment in time. Much more to say than that, Graham, I think. Okay, yeah, gentleman at the back. I think we're coming to an end slowly.
Sorry, I apologize if this question has already been asked before. The Russian figure skating coach, Tutberidze, is here with them, and she is accredited by the Georgian team. Witold Banka some days ago said that he feels not comfortable seeing her here because of this scandal 4 years ago. What does the IOC think about this? Do you feel comfortable that she's here or not? Or how are your comments on this?
Yeah, I mean, comfortable, not comfortable, it doesn't, for me, is not so important an issue whether I'm comfortable or not. But I think in that case, as far as I understand, and WADA have dealt with to a certain extent, but I'm not going to speculate on details, but there was an investigation at the time, there were no issues found that could be actioned. And since then, I think as WADA have explained, they have strengthened their entourage investigations and so on around athletes. But you need if you're going to take action against someone, you need some evidence to take that action. And from what I understand, there isn't any. So not much more to add. Yeah, gentleman there.
Yannick Schneider from ZDF Germany. In addition to the prior question, it was heard and written that it was geopolitical reasons that the investigation couldn't take part in Russia so much with the coach Tutberidze. So I wonder if the IOC is interested in another investigation maybe, so that independent investigators could enter to Russia. Thank you.
I think that's a question best directed to WADA, because they're the responsible organisation for that, any investigation. Okay, I think some people... Oh, no, okay, we're going to go around again. Some people don't want to watch the skiing, so we're going to... Tariq, clearly not a ski fan, and then we'll go off to the right here. Yes, Tariq.
We're going to keep you here so you miss the entire event, Mark. That's the plan. Do you want to ask about Kirsty Coventry's meeting with... sorry if it's been asked earlier, I don't know. With Vance and Rubio, and they've been here. Kirsty's not travelled as often as some other sports federations and embraced the Trump administration like some other ones. What is her... Is that your ski alarm? What's that? What's the kind of relation like? What's she looking to get, out of it? And what's it been like here? What are the discussions about? Are there any topics that are front of mind? Can you give us a kind of bit more detail?
I mean, I did not at great length, but I did address this one yesterday. So, I mean, I wasn't in the meeting, but what I can tell you is that we are, as I said yesterday, we're very happy with the relationship we have with the administration. It's very supportive, particularly in the run-up to the Los Angeles Games. It's very important that you have a good relationship with the administration in whatever country that happens to be, and that is the case here. What the kind of detailed conversation was, I can't tell you. What I could tell you is that apart from that great relationship, obviously at the moment, the President will be concentrating 1,000% on making sure that these games are a success. So I really wouldn't want to kind of take that speculation any further. Yeah, gentleman there.
Je suis désolé, mais je voudrais revenir sur le problème des manifestations. J'ai un petit peu d'expérience d'événements sportifs. Marc, vous avez raison. Généralement, ça s'arrête le jour où l'événement commence, que ce soit Coupe du Monde ou Jeux Olympiques. Or là, ça continue. Et j'ai quand même l'impression que c'est dû à la présence de ICE. Je ne sais pas si c'est une police, justement. Je ne sais pas trop le cadre fédéral. Il y a eu des discussions du CIO avec l'État fédéral américain pour la présence ou non de ces policiers?
Only, I'll answer in French because in English because I think it would probably save your ears. But I mean, only a discussion. We didn't have a discussion, I think, with them about the specific issue because I think they clarified. They made it very clear that there were no ICE boots on the ground here in Milan, and it was purely an administrative role, I think, in Rome or something. So, far be it from me to say that the issue has been blown out of proportion. I wouldn't dare to assume to put those words into other people's mouths, but I think they clarified pretty quickly that that was not an issue here, that there were not ICE agents on the ground as the protesters were. I think some of the protesters were suggesting. Okay, with apologies for the telephone call halfway through, I will see you, thank you very much to the panel, and I will see you all, not same time, 11 o'clock tomorrow, I think.
Go downhill tomorrow.
Yeah, unless